Good afternoon. Welcome to today's version of the Jewish Policy Center webinar. I am Shoshana Bryan, Senior Director of the JPC and your host. We have spent a lot of these programs over the past 15 months discussing the broad issues surrounding Israel, its security, its enemies, which are very directly America's enemies as well, and how to move forward the U.S. and Israel together. And as I've told you many times, we don't do the narrow things. We don't do battlefield analysis. We don't count tanks and airplanes. And today we are going to do what I think of as the broadest thing of all, which is human emotion. Specifically, Israelis and how they have responded to life and tragedy in Israel since October 7th, 2023. Our guest today is Ella Moore, a certified classical homeopath and an Israeli who found herself right in the middle of things that day. But before we get to Ella, of course, your JPC commercial. The Jewish Policy Center was established in 1985 as a nonprofit organization providing analysis of foreign and domestic policy. We support America's defense, a strong U.S.-Israel security cooperative relationship, and missile defense. Most important, today and every day, we support the legitimacy and permanence and security of Israel against anyone who would deny them. And now more than ever, we support the government of Israel and the IDF in defending the people of Israel and bringing the perpetrators of the massacres and hostage-taking and their sponsors to justice. As an organization that sits somewhat to the right of center, the JPC advocates for small government, low taxes, free trade, fiscal responsibility, and energy security, as well as free speech and intellectual diversity. You can find us on our website, jewishpolicycenter.org. That's jewishpolicycenter.org. There you can read our Insight articles. You can read our magazine, In Focus Quarterly. The current issue is devoted to Iran. It is called Iran, Freedom or Fire. And as I've said before, that is not a question. You can also find previous webinars. Grab a cup of coffee or a glass of wine and binge watch. And now our guest. I have to say that I have spent my entire professional career focused on national security, how to create security, how to defend security, and what happens when you don't do it right. I can talk about armies and negotiations and allies, but there's another element of security, which is what we're going to talk about today, and that's the security that comes from a population that is fully committed to the country, to its people, and to its defense. And I take this, the following sentence, directly from Ella's writing. In the realm of psychological research, the concept of post-traumatic growth describes the fascinating phenomenon how individuals not only cope with trauma, but grow stronger as a result. When the unimaginable happens, inner strength emerges. Back to me. Now, this is not just an academic theory, but a living, breathing reality as demonstrated by the people of Israel and personified here by Ella Moore. Ella is the mother of two. She's a certified classical homeopath and the owner of a private clinic in Yaffo. She resides on a farm in central Israel. At 6:30 in the morning on October 7th, her life was irrevocably transformed when she awoke to the reality that her two young nephews had hidden in a closet for many hours after losing their parents. From that moment on, she has combined her personal life with a national mission, the fight to bring back hostages and rebuild Israeli society. She transitioned from a homeopath with a private clinic to an advocate for Israel, an international advocate, I must say. We're not her first international mission, but here we are, makes her international. She is going to talk to us about the trauma of Israel, but also about the resilience of Israeli society. And now, Ella Moore, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much. And thank you so much for inviting me and willing to hear everything I want to say. I really appreciate it, and I'm thanking you, everybody that's listening now. My name is Ella Moore. I'm the aunt of Abigail Idan. She was a 3-year-old little hostage that was taken to Gaza. Her siblings, Michael and Amalia, were hiding in the closet for 14 hours. I can tell you My life changed on October 7th. It's 6:30 in the morning, 6:29 in the morning, when we had the bomb siren going on. Until October 7th, my life was, I think, regular. I had my work and I'm raising my children and, like a normal life. But since October 7th, my life changed so much and I had to really try to stay like underwater that I can really go on and stay strong. On October 7th at 6:30 in the morning, after we ran to the shelter here where I live, we don't have a shelter room inside of our houses. We have to run to shelter near the field. We run terrified, barefoot. The children scream, everybody screams because we see the bombs in the sky. After we left the shelter, 10 minutes you have to wait until sometimes the pieces of the bombs fall down. After we left the shelter, I called my family in Kfar Aza kibbutz, and I called my sister-in-law, Smadar. Smadar was the mother of Michael, who was 9 years old, Amalia, 6 years old, and Abigail, she was 3 years old. I wanted to know how she's doing it, if everything is okay, because if there's a siren where I live, which is near Tel Aviv, so I'm sure Kfar Aza kibbutz is under a severe attack, because they always used to be. Smadar did not answer the phone that day. Her son Michael answered the phone, and I asked him, Michael, can I please speak to mommy? And he said no. I said, Michael, that's not funny. Can I please speak to daddy? And he said, no, you can't. And I asked him, why? Why can I speak to your parents? And he didn't answer. He was silent. But his sister, Amalia, who is 6 years old, she said to me, Ella, they cannot answer the phone because they're dead. And I was shocked. I couldn't believe what I'm hearing. I told them, what? What? I didn't hear you. And she spoke to me again and she told me, Ella, they cannot answer the phone because they're dead. I dropped the phone from my hands. It dropped. I was on a speaker, so I was talking to the floor because my phone was on the floor. I told them, what? What are you talking about? And they told me, Ella, the terrorists came in the house and he shot mommy, and then he shot daddy, and then he shot little Abigail, and everybody's dead. We're hiding inside of the closet. I was so shocked. I told them, listen, maybe you're wrong. Maybe your parents just fainted. Maybe they were running to the shelter and they fell and they fainted. Maybe they're just injured. Please don't worry. Everything will be okay. I will call help. Please stay inside of the closet. Keep quiet. Don't talk loud. Stay inside of the closet and I'll take care of everything. I'll do what I can. Don't worry. Everything is going to be okay. And I went downstairs near the shelter. I didn't want to call the police in my house because I have children. And I didn't want my 2 children to be traumatized from this conversation because I didn't know what's going on. And I called the police. I was downstairs barefoot, wearing my pajamas because it was 6:45, 7 o'clock in the morning in October 7th. And I called the police, and on October 7th, there was no police to answer. And I was calling and calling and calling the police. And after I understood that I don't have a police, I called the ambulance, Magen David. It's like a 911. And the lady told me, I'm so sorry. I know. Kfar Aza is a war zone. The ambulance cannot go inside a war zone. And I told her, are you crazy? Are you out of your mind? There are 2 little children inside of a closet there, and the parents are being shot. They're losing blood, and the little baby, please, please. I was begging her, crying, please help me. And she told me, I'm sorry, miss. Kfar Aza is a war zone. We cannot help you. And she put the phone down on me because on October 7th, she had thousands of calls. They were calling, people were calling for her for help, and she could not help them. When I understood I don't have police and I don't have the ambulance, I hold my head like that, and I was walking downstairs near the field, near where I live, and I told myself, no, this is a bad dream. Please, can somebody please wake me up from this bad dream? I wanted to throw myself on the floor. I wanted to faint. I wanted to scream. And I wanted to just lose it. But in my mind, in my subconscious, it was not like something like coherent that was going through my mind. But in my subconscious, I told myself, Ella, you cannot do that. You cannot collapse because there are two children in a closet an hour away from your home and they need to be rescued. And you have children in your house that they cannot see their mother collapse and crying and screaming and throwing herself. You have to be resilient now. You have to be strong for your children and you have to be strong for Michael and Amalia because they need you. I felt the most loneliest person in the world. In those moments, there was no other world. I saw only myself and the children inside of the closet and my children in the house. I didn't see anything. I felt so lonely and so full of grief and sorrow, and I was terrified. And I started to get paranoid because I was looking around me and I said, okay, if there's a terrorist in Kibbutz Kfar Aza that is shooting people, well, maybe there's terrorists where I live. Maybe they reached my house and maybe I'm in my last minutes on earth. Maybe I'm gonna be killed soon. And I told myself, I really remember talking to myself and telling myself, Ella, if it's your last moments on earth, your children have to see their mommy fight. They have to see their mommy strong and give them strength and give them resilience. They cannot see me collapse and get hysterical and crying. And it really made me strong to think about my children, to think about Michael and Amalia in that closet. And I went up back home and I didn't know what to do. I didn't know how can I help them because I didn't know anybody in the army. I was in the army like 20 years ago. I didn't have any connections. I didn't know who to call. I was very confused, but I remembered that media goes inside a war zone and they can help. They go inside with a helmet and they go inside the war zone. So maybe I need the media, maybe I need the army, but I don't know how to reach them. So I wrote a post on Facebook, which I was begging for people to help me. I was begging for the people of Israel. I told them, listen, my nephews called me and they say that the parents have been killed and I need people to go inside of the kibbutz. They say they're terrorists walking and shooting people, but I will do anything. Please help me and please connect me to the media. And in the beginning, the people of Israel, they didn't believe me because they didn't know there's a massacre inside of the kibbutzim on the border. They didn't know that. So people thought in the beginning, I'm fake news, I'm a bot, I'm talking nonsense, and they didn't help me. But when the time went on, they started to help me, and I had like a little war room inside of my house, and I was telling people how to reach the house of Smadar and Ro'i and where Michael and Amalia are hiding. I think it took 14 hours until they were released. And my Facebook post was so viral. It was all around the world in Jewish communities. People understood through my post what is going on in Israel. In 2 hours, I started to see something very strange on my post. I started to see a lot of smiley and happy faces. And I thought, are people losing their minds? Why are they putting smileys? And then I started to get pro-Palestine and free Palestine on my post. What happened was my post reached Iran and they were like, they were all over my post. They took over my post and they broadcast live from the Hamas GoPro cameras, everything they were broadcasting live, all the massacre on my posts. So at 11 o'clock or 11:30 in the morning, I understood that we have hostages. I saw people taking to Gaza. I couldn't believe it. And people were calling me on the phone, take the post off, take the post off. You have Iran on your post. But I tell them, no, until the children are not released, until I'm not taking it off, I need all the help I can get. Just ignore them, block them, do whatever you need. It took 14 hours. until 4 volunteers from the army, from the IDF, servers went inside of the kibbutz, risked their life. They were on the phone with Amit, Roi's brother, who showed them where is the house on the phone. On the way to the house, they met a lot of army units that told them we were on our way to the children, and these 4 volunteers told them, it's okay, we'll rescue the children. You go and you do and you fight. You fight for the kibbutz. The kibbutz was going through a terrible war. It was a massacre. They were killing people, bombing, burning the houses. It was horrible. But the kids were rescued after 14 hours. And it was the first time that day I could breathe. It took another 30 hours until the other members that were still alive in the kibbutz were rescued. My other members of family, they were very, very brave inside of the shelter rooms holding on. And Michael and Amalia were rescued, and we didn't know that little Abigail, she was not killed that day. We didn't know that she was kidnapped, because when the terrorists killed her father, she was on his arms. He was holding her, and he fell with her. But she rescued herself, and she ran to the neighbors. She ran to the neighbor, to her best friend from the kindergarten, and they put her in the shelter room. But at 11 o'clock in the morning, 11:30 in the morning, I hope I'm not wrong with the hours, but the Hamas terrorists came inside of the neighbor's house and kidnapped the mother and her 2 little babies and Abigail to Gaza. It took us a few days to understand that. The family members found the pacifier, her pink pacifier, near the fence. And it took, I think, a few days until we really understood that little baby is a hostage, an orphan, alone in Gaza. I think this is a real welcome to hell. I think there is no such horror in life like to have a hostage in Gaza. I think everyone who has children or has family or has a heart can just try to imagine now for 1 second what it is like to lose your child in a mall, in the street, in school, like for 5 seconds. It's like 5 seconds of pure horror. And we lost this little baby for 51 days in the hands of Hamas. And I don't have to tell you how cruel, terrible, and ugly behavior they are. Little Abigail, our amazing little baby, she came back after 51 days from October 7th until the 26th of November, the day she came back. I was fighting for my family. I was representing my family everywhere, in the hostage center, anywhere I was needed. But from the 26th of November, the night she came back, I told the hostage families, we have a WhatsApp group. I told them, I will never leave you. I understand. I've been through everything you are going through, and I will not leave you. I will fight for you. I will do everything I can. So since the 26th of November, 2023, I'm dedicating my life to the hostages, to the Israeli people, to the Jewish people, and to all, I think, humanity, because October 7th was not only about Israel. I'm the first or second circle to the trauma, but I think this hurricane, it hit everybody. It hit everybody in Israel. It hit all of the Jewish people around the world. It hit all of the people around the world. Everybody that has a heart was shocked by what happened, and nobody can really heal until we get the hostages back. But now we have a different problem, because we are very happy that the hostages are coming back, and we are still fighting for the 59 that are still in Gaza, and we have to bring them back. But now we have to deal with another thing, that is to cure them, to help them have a new life, because I don't really know if you can heal a hostage, because a hostage or people that went through the massacre in October 7th, they went through genocide. The Israeli nation went through horrible genocide, but they went through another thing. It's called domicide. Genocide is the murder that happened and everything, but domicide is to lose your house. It's to lose your community. It's to lose your family. It's to lose everything that is your base in the world. And that what happened to the hostages and to the hostage families. So now I'm trying to help these families because we have a big problem now in Israel. We're going through a war. It's almost 2 years war. We have people from the south who lost their house, people from the north who lost their house, widows and orphans and post-traumatic and everything. And the government is trying to help everybody, but it cannot, it has their limits. So now we're trying to help the hostage families to get well and to get better. There are families today that are not functioning. They cannot wake up in the morning. They cannot fight for their loved one that is still in Gaza. Or if he's back, they cannot even call the doctor. The emotional situation is very, very hard, and the government now cannot support psychological and psychiatrical treatments. When I got to the hostage center, I met this amazing guy named David Zelmenovich. He told me, well, I was eating lunch with him in the dining room, where all the hostage families sitting together in the dining room. We eat lunch, and I didn't know who he was. And he told me that he founded the hostage center because his nephew, Omer Shem Tov, I guess you know Omer. He was yesterday in Washington. He met President Trump. So his nephew, Omer, was in captivity, and his daughter, she was missing because she was in the Nova Festival, and she was found alive under 9 bodies of her best friends. And it was very, very hard for her. And Dudi that night, he established the family forum, the hostage center. And in that lunch, he told me that the need of the family is so big. He's supporting himself 47 families who cannot afford the basic things like food, electricity, healthcare. They cannot do it, so he's supporting them. Dudi, 8 months ago, founded a Kamim Foundation. The Kamim Foundation is supposed to help the hostages and help the hostage families. And what was I liked about it, that it was, we had more than 200 hostages, but around the hostages, there are a lot of family members, because it's not only the first round for the trauma, it's also the second and the third, because a lot of people are fighting for their loved ones or fought for their loved ones or cannot function anymore. So we have like 250, I think, hostages, but 1,000 people around them that are collapsing and need a lot of help. So Dudi was very kind to help them, but now he told me he cannot do it anymore because it's 47 families a month. So he established the Kamim Foundation. I think in October 7th, we revealed 2 things. We revealed the most ugly cruelty of humanity. I mean, what Hamas did, I don't think you have words for this cruelty. I think Nazis were not so cruel like Hamas, like ISIS, like Daesh. But when they were broadcasting live their massacre on my post or everywhere on the social media of the victims. But also on October 7th, we revealed something so beautiful in the world. I mean, I cannot stop thinking about it. It revealed the beauty of humanity. I mean, the people of Israel were helping each other and saving each other. People called me to help to save children they didn't know, and they risked their lives. A lot of the people that tried to go inside of the kibbutz that day were injured or killed, and they did it for people they didn't know. people around the world, the Jewish community, not only the Jewish community, people around the world were together and helping and still are. And I think this is the most beautiful present. Sometimes you can say a present by, you get through horror, but you can also see good things inside of the bad, like yin and yang. I think it's the human connections and the beauty of humanity, of people that open their heart. I mean, my life changed because until October 7th, I used to practice homeopathy in my clinic and take care of people and babies and adults and the families. But since October 7th, I'm traveling around the world and I'm meeting people and I'm meeting amazing people and I'm seeing the beauty of human connections and the beauty and the strength and the resilience. Like people are helping each other and they're helping who is needed. In Israel, we are very, very small and we're a big family, but very, very small. But the hug of the world to us is very important. And today, this hug and this love and this care is needed for the families. Now I'm speaking for them. I'm not speaking for myself. I'm speaking for the families. I'm speaking for the hostages that are coming back to know life, to families that were waiting for them, but they cannot hold it because the trauma is so severe that not a lot of people know how to handle this trauma. They are trying to handle themselves to stay strong for themselves, but then the hostage comes back and he needs a lot of support. It's not support for 1 or 2 months, it's support for years, because this trauma is like a Holocaust. I think in October 7th, we went through a Holocaust and it's for generations. I feel like a first generation to trauma, like the October 7th Holocaust. And what makes me strong is to do meaningful things. I'm not the aunt that adopted the children. I didn't adopt the children, so I had to find something else which is full of meaning, that I'll find meaning in life. And what I found was to do a lot of good things and to be in a doing situation and not stop. So I'm doing everything I can for the families, and not for only for the families, for Israel, for you, for me. I think it's for everyone, because I think Israel is a microcosmos of the world. Everything that happens here can happen everywhere if it will not be stopped here. So I'm going all over the world for Israeli advocacy and to talk about the hostages and the hostage situation. And I think that it's a big call right now to help the hostages. Shoshana, can you please show a Kamim Foundation website if somebody wants to look and to see? It's a non-profit foundation. It was established by Dudi Zelmanovich, who raised the Family Forum. And I think it's so important and it's so it's even easy to support, because I found out when Dudi helps families, he pays a family something like $1,500 a month. That's what it means to support a family in a basic way, that they'll have food, basic food, electricity, because we saw that a lot of families are in such severe problems that they come to the family forum to eat lunch, or they take food home, or they take rice home because they cannot afford it. They're not working. Not only the family, all around the families. So if people can decide to help the families, Ruby Rivlin, he was the president of Israel. He is the president of honor of this foundation. He gave his name because he knew it's a pure and good and it's an honorable organization, a foundation. I think it's the right thing to do. It's the human thing to do to help the hostages.
Ella, I'm going to jump in right here and say
Yeah.
to the people that are watching, obviously you can't click on this website. So you can see that it's the Kamim Foundation. We have the information. We have the contact information. We have Ella's contact information. So we will be putting this up for you. But if you want to get in touch with her or with the foundation, please let me know. Okay, you know how to reach the JPC, you know how to reach me. Please come to me and we'll make sure that it gets out there for her. You're back on, Ella. Go.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I'll be so honored if we all can do it together. I think it's a human mission together, not only to talk about resilience, but to talk about the day after the war, the day after a hostage comes back. I want every one and one of them to be back home, because otherwise we cannot heal here in Israel. We went through a severe trauma, not only us, you, everybody that's listening to me now, went through a severe trauma. And I think there is a big wound in the hearts of Israel and everyone. And this wound can heal when the hostages will be back. And then we'll start the big mission. We'll start to try to give them a new life. I think I'm really excited about it. And I tell you why. Because if I will not be excited about it, I will be depressed. I mean, we have to keep on doing and keep on going on and find things to hold on that we can sleep good at night and wake up in the morning with strength, with power, even with a smile. I I really feel I I love what I'm doing now. I love it like I love to do homeopathy, and I like to heal people because I feel I'm doing the right thing. I'll be so happy to be invited to your communities, to your schools, to everywhere you want to invite me. I want to come and to talk about my story and about what happened. I can talk, now it's a short webinar. I can talk for an hour and a half if I have time. I can tell you a lot of nice stories, and we can talk about everything we can do together as one unit to help the families. And I think it makes me so happy to do that. Really happy to do that, because it's to do the good thing and to choose good in the world. Thank you.
Thank you, Ella. It's a part of the story that we in the United States do not hear very much about. We hear about war and we hear about terror and we hear about all kinds of things, but the human side of this is something that I think is often overlooked. So we have questions. People have questions for you.
Sure.
And since you didn't talk for an hour and a half, we have time to ask those questions. The first
Right.
question, which a lot of people want to know, is how are the children? You said you're not the adopting aunt, but
I'm not.
tell us. No, that's well, but they are
Well, I'm
they are
very
in a
sorry.
safe place.
I'm so sorry I didn't adopt them, but I think they're having a great home, and my sister-in-law is doing an amazing job, and they're so sweet. They're sweet, and I adore them, and they're smart. And I think Michael and Amalia did an amazing work inside of the closet. They really handled everything, and they held on, and it only shows me how Smadar and Ro'i were amazing parents for them, because they raised them well. And Guli, Abigail, sorry, I call her Guli. She's so sweet and she's so smart. And I'm sure one day she will do this Zoom and she will talk to you and she will tell you everything because she's so smart and so mature.
That's great.
Um,
I think that that helps us. That's a good move for us. But tell us a little bit about Israeli society. Um, how do Israelis feel about Hamas? Our president made another strong statement yesterday about calling them sick and perverted, and I find myself nodding my head. But as Israelis, do you feel that Hamas has to be destroyed, number one? But a piece of that is, how do Israelis feel about what people in these states do very often, which is differentiate? There is Hamas and there are other people, and you can't blame everybody in Gaza for what happened to the hostages. How do Israelis see the people who live in Gaza and the distinction, perhaps, between Hamas and other people?
okay, I can only speak from my point of view and from my heart and from my mind.
But also from
Um,
your experience.
from my
Because
experience, okay, I can tell you people of Israel, Israel is very sad. I mean, nobody's happy here. You walk in the street, everybody is so sad and feeling stressed and everybody's crying here all the time. When the hostages come back, everybody's happy, but then they're sad again for the 59 that are still there. I can tell you, as a human being, my heart is with every innocent person. I'm sure there are innocent people in Gaza and they are in captivity of Hamas, like our hostages. I mean, I'm sure there are mothers that just want to raise their babies and feed them and have a happy life. But, well, that's what I think, but I'm in a conflict because the people that lived in the kibbutzim on the border of Gaza, there are the peace people who used to take the people from Gaza to hospitals, to chemotherapy treatments, to doctors. They used to send them money, to send them food, and these people were murdered. So I'm in a severe conflict in my mind because I always believe in good, but Hamas is the real bad and evil on earth. I mean,
So from your
it's
point
such
of
a
view,
complicated question.
it is a complicated question, and that's why I started with it, because it seems to me that there is a split opinion about human beings and whether human beings can really be as evil as they appear to be. Clearly, they can. But what about the other people? And so, what I think what you're saying is there is a mixed bag here. There is nobody who would ever, in my opinion, defend Hamas. That's the easy part. And then comes the hard part. And so I appreciate that you can explain that. There is stuff that's out there that's simple, and there is stuff that's out there that isn't. So let me add to this. Someone sent in a question. Israelis have been called sabras, so tough on the outside, soft on the inside. Is it possible that events like October 7th and the follow-up, and particularly when hostages are released and you see the trauma that they suffered and you see the Bebas babies, and you just go, "Ugh." So does that make you tougher inside? Does that make your outside and your inside come close together? Are you less sympathetic to other things and other people? How does that work for you?
No, I think I'm more sympathetic. I know
Explain that.
sorrow.
That's important.
I
Go
think
ahead.
I'm more sympathetic. I always used to be a sympathetic person because I treat people. But I think I'm more sympathetic now because I can understand the shades of the colors inside of the situation. Nothing is black or white. I mean, it is black and white, but what Hamas did is black. It's really black. It's really bad. But I have a lot of sympathy to people and to their sufferer. And if somebody doesn't agree with me, it's okay. I don't want everybody to agree with it. I just want people to listen to each other, and then we can do good things. It will not help if we're gonna fight all the time. But I don't know about other people, but Israelis are really tough. We're tough cookies, like tough from the outside. And from one way, I am tougher because I went through this terrible thing, and sometimes I talk to myself and I tell myself, Ella, okay, you can go through it, you can do it because you're tough. You went through what you went through it, and you went through October 7th, so you will not break from that. So sometimes I think, yeah, I got tougher, but I didn't get less sympathetic. I feel for everyone. So I
So
think
Sabra
it's
still works. It still works. You
I
have to be
don't,
tough on
yeah,
the
but I'm
outside.
not a Sabras. I think I'm a
Okay.
different flower.
Okay. You can be whatever flower you want to
Yeah,
be. But
because I don't
but the
like it to have
analogy,
this, I don't know how you say it.
the prickles, I don't know this.
Yeah, I don't
Yeah,
like
those
that.
things. Well, nobody wants those things. But but essentially what you're saying is the hard outside gets harder because it has to. You have to be tougher than you were before. But you're also saying that the inside stuff, the soft stuff, didn't go away.
No,
And you don't want it to go away.
no,
And
I
I'm going
want
to
to
ask you
feel.
if I'm going to ask you a question. That's you. That's Elan Moore. Do you think that that's representative of the state of Israel, of the people of Israel? the tough part clearly is true. We see it. We see the soldiers. We see the people who do the hard things, the physically and emotionally hard things. We see that. On the
People,
inside,
people are very angry of what happened when we think about the Beavas family, and I don't have to tell you what they've been through or what Yarden, the father, is going through now. And Yarden, just as is one of the people we want to help in this foundation. We need to heal this whole Beavas family. His sister Ofri is one of my best friends. And I know what they're going through, and they're going through hell. Yarden came back, and they had to bury Shiri and the children, and you know what happened to them, how they were murdered. And they're the people of this foundation that we want to help them. We want to give them a life. And I don't know about the people of Israel, but what you asked me, because everybody's very, very hurt and very angry. And I can understand them.
yeah.
Sometimes I think, Ella, why are you not so angry? I'm not angry because I'm more sad. I get more sad than angry. And when I get sad, I want to start doing. I want to feel the meaning of life. I want to do things that will make me feel meaningful. And then I can smile again. So maybe I'll get angry soon. I don't know. In the trauma levels, maybe I'm not there yet because I feel there's a lot of work to be done. And if I'll get angry and no irritable about it, it will not help. So now I'm really in a mission to do all these good things. But I think people in Israel are very, very furious about what happened. And it's hard to feel compassion to children in Gaza when you see what they did to the Bivas family. I mean, we would never, ever do such a thing, ever. So,
Ever. But you also see tremendous still, and this on the Israeli side of the border, because Israelis are not in Gaza except for soldiers.
yeah,
People may be angry, but there's this huge, what we see, outpouring of support for people, for other Israelis, for Israelis who have lost family members, and support for Israelis who have undergone the trauma. And so part of me says, yes, they're angry, but they take sort of your attitude. What can I do to be helpful? It's
exactly.
not, it's not clear to me that what would happen in the United States. Okay, I don't know. God willing, we will never know what that would look like. But I would say after 9/11, there was a huge outpouring of support in the United States for people who were injured, for people who lost people. And as angry as people were at the act of terrorism, it resulted in a large outpouring of very positive things. And I think that's what we're seeing in Israel. You can be angry and do good works at the same time. And correct me
Yeah,
if I'm
and
wrong, but that's what I think we see when we look
I
at
think
Israel
you're
from here.
right. I think you're totally, totally right. People are supporting each other and helping each other. And like you went through the 9/11, we went through October 7th, but we're going for little October 7th for years here. I mean, it's very hard here. So we're supporting all the time.
And so
And
one, go ahead.
maybe it's part of our resilience as a country that we have to be strong all the time because we are attacked from 7 different places mostly. And it's very hard to live like that. It's very hard to breathe sometimes or to have dreams or to think about the future. Sometimes I don't know if I'll have a future. I don't know. Like I don't know. I'm gonna be bombed from Iran. I'm gonna be bombed from Yemen. Are my children okay? Can can I fantasize about the future? Can I think what's gonna? I mean, it's so hard here. I think I'm very calm when I go abroad. I was in Italy a week ago to do Israeli advocacy and to speak about the foundation and about everything I'm speaking now. And I think it was the week I was sleeping so good because I wasn't afraid there will be a bomb siren, or I wasn't afraid in the street to sit in a coffee shop and see someone will shoot. And I was calm and I was sleeping and and I felt better. So it's very hard here.
So
But I
calm
think
is not
people are
something I ever actually associated with Israel. I have to say that in all the times that I've been there, and starting a very long time ago, because I'm very old, um,
no, you're not.
calm calm is not the word that I would use. But let me ask you the question the other way around. It's not just Gaza that has shaken everything, and it's not just the Houthis, and it's not just Iran. It's also Hezbollah, and now it's Syria too, because now you have a government in Syria that you don't really know anything about, and we don't really know anything about, and it's
I'm
got
afraid of them.
see, that was my question, because the history of those people put them on the U.S. terror designated list. I mean, we know that there are bad people among them. We are clear on that. So how much do Israelis focus on the other things as compared to focusing on Gaza?
I'm focusing about it all the time. We cannot stop thinking about it. I'm terrified from what's going on in Syria and this new regime of Julani. Wow, I That's his ISIS. He's ISIS, and he's like really nice now and like being very polite to the world. And he's from Jihad, and Jihad are very, very patient. They have a lot of time to build up their terror, and they don't do it quickly. So we know that kind of terrorists, and I'm afraid. I can tell you the truth. I'm not. I don't. My heart is not quite about that. But we have so much around us.
There are,
And
but well, I would also say that, speaking of taking your time and doing it right, Israel's decimation of the Hezbollah leadership was the reverse of that. They took their time, they planted carefully, they waited for the right moment, and nobody knew it was coming. So maybe it's a Middle Eastern thing, to have more patience than we have in the United States. We tend to drop bombs on people. Um, but I would say the idea exercised its patience there in a very good way.
well, maybe
But
we should be less patient now and, be more.
well, there's a good question. And let's go to that question. You have a government. Israelis look to their government for certain things and certain amount of security, and it failed on October 7th. And I'm not going to lay the blame on, it's not my job. But clearly the system failed, and everybody understands that. How much patience do you think, and I'll ask you personally, how much patience do you think the public has for the current government and the IDF to pursue this to an end that makes you all feel more secure for the future? Are people running out of patience with the government in Jerusalem?
Mm. Well, there's parts of society that are running out of patience, and there are parts of society who have a lot of patience and have a lot of believe in the government. So it's very hard to answer. I think Israel is split in their opinions of what is best now. Everybody just wants, I don't know, I want to tell you, I want this war to end and I want the hostages back. Because I'm not part of the government, I'm not thinking about what can we do about it because, I'm just Ella. But I just wish they'll bring them back home and they'll do everything that these people, amazing people, the fathers and the sons, will just come back home. I mean, and I cannot think of anything else to do. And it doesn't matter which government will be here, she has to do that. That's the first thing. Stop the war, bring them back, and then do whatever you want. I mean, that's not my job to decide.
Not mine
It's the,
either.
yeah, we'll deal with other things.
Okay, so let's deal with one other thing. Somebody sent this in. You advise people not to watch the horrible Hamas videos of October 7th. Can you talk about that? So in some ways, there are people who made themselves watch those films the same way people made themselves watch Holocaust films because they felt that they couldn't really understand it and they couldn't really feel it if they didn't see it. Why do you advise people not to watch the films?
Well, I think it's an amazing question, and thank you for asking me this question. I think you can get a second trauma. I don't know how you say it in English. I think it's a second. You get a trauma when you're inside of the situation, but you can get a trauma or post-trauma, a PTSD from watching these movies. And I think these movies should be watched by people who think that October 7th was an AI or didn't exist or we invented it. They should watch these movies and not sleep at night. But people who know it really happened, please don't watch these movies because it will hurt you. It will hurt you and you will go inside of a post-trauma and you will not know it's connected to watching these movies. It happened to a lot of people here in Israel, and it happened to a lot of teenagers that watched the movies and they didn't tell the parents. The parents didn't know. And then we saw amounts of depression and anxiety in the teenagers, and hurting themselves and starving themselves, suicidal dispositions, because they watch things that the human eye should never, never see. It's not, we're not supposed to see these kinds of horrors. It's not for our soul. I know my father, he's 72. He was in every Israeli war in Israel. You know, he saw everything. He was everywhere. He was in Yom Kippur in the Chinese farm. They were brutally massacred. All his friends were killed next to him. And my father saw one movie of October 7th and he didn't sleep for 1 month. This man who went through every war here in Israel. I think what happened here is really things that the human eye and the human heart cannot hold it. So I really ask people, don't watch it. Don't watch it. Your heart is in the right place, and it will not help the victims if you watch it. It will not help them. It will not help you. So take care of your heart and take care of your soul. And it's only meant for the people that don't believe in that. I mean, people from the UN who don't believe in the October 7th, or from UNRWA that support Hamas, or from countries that say, no, it didn't happen. They should watch it every day before they go to sleep.
And every morning when they have their coffee.
With cereal.
General Eisenhower, at the end of World War II, as he was occupying Germany, forced the people of the towns and villages surrounding Auschwitz to watch the videos, the films, because he said, in a generation, people won't believe it happened. People today don't believe some of these things happened, but Eisenhower was right. In order to bring the German people to an understanding of what their leadership had done, he made them watch the films. He made them walk through Auschwitz. He made them do the whole thing. And maybe you're right.
Amazing.
But he was also right in that a
He was
generation
right.
later, there are people who now tell you the Holocaust didn't happen.
Yeah.
So Eisenhower was
it's
right in his time, and maybe
so
you're right
right.
in your time, that it's for people who don't believe it and they need to see it. I know it had an enormous impact in Washington on Capitol Hill, not among people who didn't believe it. I will tell you, these were not people who didn't believe it. They were people who did believe it. But they watched the video, and the president saw some of the video. And even for Friends of Israel, sometimes it is necessary to go and understand something that is not understandable. So we're coming toward the end, and let me do two things. First of all, several people have asked me again, information about the foundation. Yes, people, we have the
Please.
information about the foundation. Excuse me. We have it. We will put it out. If you want something, please send me an email. Send info@jewishpolicycenter.org an email, or you can send me one. You know how to find me. And yeah, we will respond to you. So yes. Ella, as we close the program, I'm not sure how to do this. Usually as I close the program, I say to my speakers, because we have a lot of really depressing speakers, find us an optimistic note on which to leave the program. I like to leave on an optimistic note. You've given us a whole bunch of optimistic notes, but give us one to take away. What is it when you get up in the morning and you look for the optimistic thing in your life as an Israeli citizen in the war, post 10/7? What's the optimistic thought we should take away?
I think one of them is to know that we are all in this together and we're not alone. On October 7th, I felt so lonely. But since then, I do not feel lonely because I have you and I have this community, and the people now that are listening, I cannot see them, but I feel with you. So I don't feel alone, and we're together and we can help together. We can do good things together. And I think to be in a doing situation, a doing place, I'm sorry if I don't know how to say it right in English, but you understand. to do things, to do good things, to wake up in the morning and to think, maybe I'll do one little thing and it'll be small, but will have a big impact, because sometimes the smallest things is the biggest impact. Like, really, like, I don't know, sometimes I feed cats near my house. We have a lot of alley cats, so I feel like I'm doing a good thing. Or to help hostages families, it's a good thing. Or to support someone, or I don't know, to help someone cross the street. I mean, just do good all the time. And I really want to say again, I would be so happy to come and speak in your communities and to be invited, because we can do a lot of amazing things together, and we have the time now to do it. And it's now the time, because they're coming back. And there are a lot of optimistic things we can think about. I can go on.
Okay, I'll take the one you gave us. I think the sense of community and the understanding that we are out there. We are a long way from Israel. We here doing this, but we feel like we're in Israel in our souls because we are one people and we are with you in this. And I think you gave us a great note on which to leave. And you and I are going to talk again. To our members, thank you for joining us today. Yes, contact us if you want more information. And Ella, thank you very much. You are the optimistic note for our day. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone, for listening. Thank you.